Hello. How's it going, guys? Hello. All right. So, Pedro,
Oh,
welcome, guys. All right. We had some crazy news come out right at the end of my live stream with Armin, which was that the Islamic Republic is now broadcasting on their state media on multiple channels, at least three that we personally confirmed, how to arm their regular citizens, which is insane. If you think about it for a second, you realize that they're only doing this because they think that the militias, the regular Basij and IRGC that they have, and all the other people that they've recruited so far are not enough. So when worse comes to worse, which they're anticipating because they posted this on their state media, that they're going to arm their regular supporters and that they actually instructed people to head to the city centers to pick up their weapons. I'm assuming there's some sort of loose vetting program, like, hey, prove that you're a regime supporter, maybe say something, do something, whatever, right? Give me your personal info, stuff like that. Here's your AK 47. I imagine that that's how it works. We just found that out. So people are posting about that. And that has huge implications. So I want to see what you guys thought about that first. So if there's any twos about that, and if there's not, no worries. We can go on with the first topic of the day. Does anyone have any? Oh, soapbox. Please go ahead.
Hey, Ali.
yes.
I got a question for you on that. Are there any reports that the rifles and ammo is being actually given out yet to people who show up at whatever local distribution center or whatnot, or is it so far just like the video clip that we saw a bit ago in the the live stream, the guy on the TV saying, this is how you hold the weapon, this is how you shoot it, this is how you chamber, and whatever. Is that all it is, or are they actually giving them out,
Yeah, good
or we
question.
don't know?
They are actually giving them out. So this happened. So keep in mind, in Tehran time right now would be, was it 6 p.m.? So it'd be like 4:30 a.m. They did this last night in terms of Tehran time. So it's been like literally 6 hours since they started broadcasting this. And we didn't show you guys, but there's another clip that we found that had this lady wrapped up in hijab holding an AK 47, telling the viewers to head to the city centers of their major cities and to prove that they are regime supporters and to collect their weapons. So, based on that, we know that they are handing them out. How much ammunition? Uh, I don't know. I assume no more than like maybe half a magazine maximum. Um, but but yeah, that is terrifying. By the way, Pedro, if you want to respond to the topic, you can put a two, and then one is bringing up a new topic. So if you want to give your opinion on this, please go ahead and put a two. But if you didn't want to, then no worries. But yeah, the implications of this is what's worrying me. On one hand, it shows that the regime is really desperate. But the second implication is that there's going to be a slaughter. There's going to be more bloodshed. Soapbox, go ahead and respond to that, and then we'll go to Pedro.
Okay, thanks. You said that if the volunteers, the average person on the street who saw the TV ad, shows up and has to prove they're a regime supporter. Can you educate us a little bit about what that means? What that means to be a card carrying member? See, I don't know if in order to be a mailman or work for the cable company or at the sewage treatment plant, someone has to be a IRGC member. Sign a membership card, like some really not so good places on earth require you to be a party member. So what does it take to vet yourself to be a supporter? Raise your right hand, swear an oath. I back. You know. the Ayatollah, or I mean, what does it mean? You know,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, can how easily can a real patriotic Iranian walk down there and go, "Yep, yeah, I'll take one of those, please, thanks," and a 30 round mag. I'm good to go. Yeah,
yeah. So because this just came out, we don't have the exact details, but I'm imagining all it takes is to go provide your personal information. So one thing that they've done in the past week is if you want Wi-Fi, show up to the the centers that they have, maybe libraries or whatever. You put in your personal information, your name, your address, the equivalent of your social security number in Iran called the kartemeli, like your national number, and you are given Wi-Fi as long as you post pro-Islamic regime propaganda. So I imagine with the weapons, they'll do the same thing, maybe add a condition or two to it, but the process should be the same, where you enter your personal information, you post some pro-Islamic regime stuff. Like I imagine they would want you on your social media to post that you just got an AK-47, because that spreads the fear of the Iranian people to not come out onto the street. And the last thing you said about how easy it is to get this weapon is exactly what Armin and I are thinking. What's to stop a pro-Iranian people, so like our side, what's to stop them from going and acting like they're on the regime side and just getting an AK? And then they go home, watch the state media, learn how to operate an AK-47, and boom, now you have people armed as well. So that's what I imagine the process is like. Pedro, what do you think?
What I'm thinking about is the opposite. Like this proves that the regime it has a lot of weaknesses. Like the regime claims to be all powerful, like to be with a great army, but in reality, it desperately tries to recruit a lot of soldiers as possible to in order to massacre a lot of innocent Iranian people. So that's why we need to neutralize the Mullah regime, because you know like the only way that we can neutralize, but we can avoid more innocent Iranians for being massacred, is to arm the Iranian people as they are doing. Like President Trump did confirm back then that they did attempt to bring weapons to the Iranian protesters back in January, but it was not successful due to the Kurdish separatist movement. But these times now have gone different, and who knows? Trump. We can see patriotic Iranians finally having their weapons and finally reclaiming their freedom. It's a matter of patience.
Yeah, here's what I was thinking. The Iranian protesters who would be willing to get these weapons and hold them and fire them in the upcoming uprising are our best, our best and brightest. They're the bravest people, which means that some of them, or disproportionately a lot of them, may have been arrested before for this political activism. And now that the police stations are all blown up, it's incredibly difficult to check who's who exactly. These best and bravest people can go and pose themselves as regime supporters and get armed, a lot of them who aren't already. The Kurdish separatist group who kept the weapons doesn't necessarily mean that the operation to arm the Iranian people failed. It just means that that one part of the plan failed. Because if I'm the Pentagon, there is no way in heck that I just chose a single way. I put all my eggs in one basket. There's no way. They chose multiple different ways. So this is undoubtedly, though, this is not a good thing overall, because the amount of the Iranian people who are armed is going to be much less than the amount of regime supporters who are armed. Yeah.
And for example, like I want to tell you something. Some political analysts claim that that can I explain something about that because I put a one or not yet?
What is it about?
Is it about a political analyst who claims that the that it's impossible for Princess of Pahlavi to return to Iran because the Shiite culture in Iran prevents him from returning? I don't believe in that because there's a lot of reasons
Yeah,
why
wait,
Princess of Pahlavi.
Pedro. Do you want to bring that up as the next topic so we can?
Yes, I
Yeah.
have no issue with that. That's
Okay.
why I shared the video. So you could click on the video and put on number 520 and put subtitles in English. So because that person speaks Spanish, so you could put subtitles in English, so you could understand. You could
Yeah, got
read
it.
what he's saying in
Okay,
in the subtitles.
gotcha. All right, we'll finish this topic and then we'll go to that. Okay. All right.
Sure.
Someone asked, how many guns do you think the IRGC has? Do you think that would be enough? There would be enough guns for all supporters who want a gun to get one? No, no way. They do have a lot of guns, but here's the thing. We know that the people in the military, the regular military of Iran, are having shortages of everything, like anything from food to bullets. So there's no way that any regime supporter who wants can come and get armed. By the way, most regime supporters, like Iranian-born regime supporters, have led pretty luxurious lives. And a lot of them are not people who are, let's just say, willing to throw away their very luxurious life and take up an AK-47 on the street. They're instead going to be using their money to get the heck out, to run away. But they have brought in a lot of supporters from other countries, like Afghanistan and even Nigeria. And so those people will probably be armed. However, like they're not going to have multiple magazines. It's going to be like they'll maybe give like 10 bullets, maybe 5. I don't know. We'll find out soon. We'll find out probably tomorrow or the day after. But no, not a lot of them are going to get, like, we're not going to be thinking like 100,000 people are going to get weapons. You all have to keep in mind about the logistics. Okay. So you can't take pro-regime supporters from the south of Iran and ship them all the way to Tehran, for example. They can't do that. So they're going to have to pick people who are local to that area and are regime supporters who are then willing to take up weapons instead of running away. And remember, they know that if the people win, which they're starting to think that the people might win, they don't want to be there when the people take over and start, arresting people or worse. So they face the consequences. I personally think a lot of these civilian regime supporters are going to run. But this is it's a last-ditch effort, and it's hard to say how many people will be armed at the end of the day. But they will not be armed to the level at which will stop the Iranian people. I'd highly doubt that. Someone asked, isn't the Artesh, so the regular military, the ones short on bullets because the IRGC rations them low on purpose from fear? Yeah, so it's a little bit of fear. It's a little bit on purpose, but it's also mostly because all the resources for the past few decades go to the IRGC. And the fear of the Artesh comes from because they're regular citizens who are drafted into military service, most of them, and they lock up the armories. So they're given weapons and they're given bullets. Like if you're manning a border patrol or a checkpoint on the border, you're given stuff. But if you're going back to base to arm 200-300 people from the Artesh, like you're not going to be able to do that. That's why they didn't come out in January, because all the armories were either locked, guarded, or emptied out, actually. What if the gun grab is a plot? I'm not sure what you mean. A plot to do what? I don't think this is in my opinion, I don't think this is a trick. I think they're truly desperate. Someone asked something. Someone asked, what proof do we have that the separatist Kurds actually got weapons that they kept, aside from President Trump saying that? So they themselves denied that they got weapons, but then there's like a lot of reports about people bragging in that specific group that they have a lot of weapons and that they have the rights to use them in the future. And then we know a lot of other Kurdish separatist groups are jealous. So they probably kept them. I mean, I'm going to trust President Trump on that one. The Basij are willing to kill for IRGC, but are they willing to die for IRGC in hard fighting? A lot of them are, yeah. A lot of them are. Not the majority of them, because as you saw during the strikes, a lot of them just stopped showing up for work. So no, a lot of them are not willing to die, but still a good amount of them are. And keep in mind, guys, this period of time since the ceasefire started is, what do you call it? It's safer. It's safer for the regime supporters to come out, and it's safer for the Basij to come out as well. When the strikes start up again, we're going to see what happened last time, which is they stop showing up for work. Some of them get executed for not showing up for work and refusing to follow orders, and arrests. So they're losing everything. They're losing all their cards from, all the since the start. Let's see here. All right, I think that was all questions regarding this. Yeah. All right, Pedro, please go ahead.
So can you please click on the video that I'm referring? So click on the video and put on minute 5:20, so you could put subtitles in English to show what I was talking about, like what topic I was really talking about, on what things that analysts got wrong about the Iranian people. So
wait, can you give me some context? So I'm watching the video right now. What country is this being broadcasted from?
that's from Argentina, but you could put subtitles in English. So if you want to understand what they're saying, subtitles in English. That was that. So I'm gonna tell you the context. He was an Argentine vice president from during the Carlos Menem years. Menem was his background comes from Syria. Like his ancestors were Syrian, and in 1994, sadly, there was the Amy.
Well, instead of his ancestry, could you tell me about? Can you summarize what he said?
So I'm gonna tell you what he said. So did you click on the video and put on minute 5:20?
Yeah. So he said that he doesn't think that Prince Reza Pahlavi can go back to Iran because the Shiite culture and religion is so strong that they would reject him. So basically what he's saying is that the people of Iran reject Prince Reza Pahlavi. Am I right?
Which is false. We have a lot of proofs that it's the exact opposite. Like, he's wrong on that.
Yeah, so this gives me the vibe that the guy who's speaking in that video doesn't actually, like, we've seen a lot of reporters, we've even seen senators ask stupid questions. And the reason they ask these stupid questions is because they didn't spend 5 minutes researching what the Iranian people are saying. And this guy is a prime example, because if he spent literally 5 minutes, he would have seen multiple clips from January 8th and 9th that are thousands of people screaming across Iran for Prince Reza Pahlavi's name. And then if he spent another 5 minutes of research, he would have realized that Prince Reza Pahlavi has been saying the same thing for almost 50 years. There's not a single interview out there that has had him slip up. Not a single one. So for this guy to come out, and like, sure, you might be the vice president of Argentina at some point in the past, which, I'm not even going to get into that, the slew of problems of what that means. But it doesn't matter. It just goes to show it doesn't matter your background. You can be a senator of the United States of America. You can be the vice president of Argentina, whatever political analyst. As long as you haven't done your research, that's number one. And as long as you haven't broken free from your own perspective, which is something that Armin does all the time. He constantly is afraid of being in an echo chamber. So he actually goes and he researches what the enemy, the people opposite of him, are thinking and saying. And he tries to figure out, are they actually making sense or are they just saying whatever? So thanks for showing that. That's a prime example of someone who just doesn't know the facts and is giving his opinion to be relevant on whatever
Of
TV show.
course, like what I mean is that he didn't research deep into Iran political into the Iranian people, because if you wanna see what Iranians truly think inside of Iran, you need to watch Iran International. Moral Basi has a lot of proofs. Like, he has a lot of agents inside Iran, and even the Mossad has proof of that. The Mossad, which is the Israeli intelligence agency, like those 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 sources are the most reliable if you want to know deep about how do Iranians inside Iran think of Princess of Pahlavi, instead of relying on stereotypes like saying that Iran, that the Shiite religion in Iran is too strong for Princess of Pahlavi to return. Like one person should never rely on stereotypes and instead look at the facts.
Yeah. Always look at the facts, guys. Armin says this all the time. He calls it empirical evidence. That just means irrefutable evidence. You can't deny it. Why can't you deny it? Because it's direct information and data that comes from the field. So me, as a scientist, when I go and perform experiments, that's empirical data. Like every piece of data that I collect from the animal or the human heart or whatever, that's empirical data. No one can be like, nuh-uh, because like, how are you going to deny that? So going back to the guns question, someone in the chat asked, could the guns that the IRGC are giving out be the same ones that Trump tried to give to free the people of Iran? No. So the Kurds kept those. And the Kurds are actually, so here's the grand plan of the Kurdish separatists. Here's the grand plan of the Kurdish separatists. They kept the weapons and they have been smuggling them into Iran, not to arm the Iranian people, but to arm their own Kurdish separatist forces that are in Iran. Remember, they're Kurdish separatists. They're essentially communists, and they want to carve out a piece of Iraq and Iran to create Kurdistan. That is their whole goal. So now that they got all these weapons, yeah, that's what they're doing. No, the regime didn't get their hands on those weapons. In fact, they are actually pretty afraid of the Kurdish separatist groups because they've been bombing them. This week alone, they sent like 5 drones. They sent 5 drones that exploded onto their targets in Iraqi Kurdistan, hitting this specific group. So, yeah, Rebecca says these idiots will still find a way to say nuh-uh. Yeah, that always happens. But here's the thing, right? If anyone does refute empirical evidence, just direct raw data, then they've already lost the argument. There's not much more you have to say. It's pretty apparent. Like, you can just move on. Don't waste your time talking to someone like that, because you are just wasting your time and energy. And sometimes I move on way too quick. Like, Armin likes to stay and really change the mind of someone who, in my opinion, is like too far gone. But because he's done it enough times, he knows it's possible. He knows it's possible. So he's willing to expend that time and effort to do it. Whereas I am not as forgiving in that sense. If I see someone too far gone, I'm not going to spend an hour trying to change their mind, because I know that there are 1,000 other people that I can change their mind, and it will be easier to change their mind, because these are reasonable, sane people who just don't have the facts. Once you give them the facts, they're usually able to come up with a conclusion. Jewish Samantha, please go ahead.
Okay, this is gonna sound totally crazy, but like, I don't know. You know, there's like a verse or something in the Quran about like how eventually like the non-believers are gonna like basically just roll over and give them everything.
Yeah, pretty much. That's like the whole idea, kind of.
I'm sorry, but like, don't you like see what's happening in Europe and you're like, wait, oh shit, what if Islam is actually correct? Like,
Who's
fuck.
gonna look at it?
Like, what do you mean? Like, who's gonna like just look at Europe?
Yeah, but like, are you talking about how like Islamists view Europe and think that's gonna happen, or non-Islamists?
No, I'm talking like me, a secular Jew in the US. I'm looking at Europe. And I'm saying like, oh shit! Like, it looks like the Quran actually predicted this. Like, I mean, I don't think it's right, but I'm like, you know, I gotta question this.
Yeah, I would imagine that someone who doesn't know anything about the current political state of the world, or at least of like Muslim countries and Europe, to sit there and be like, wow, there's a lot of Muslims in Europe now all of a sudden. It wasn't like that 20 years ago. Are they taking over? It's probably a fair assumption to make. But I think people who do particularly live in Europe, or people who do spend some time like figuring out what's going on, see that a lot of Europeans actually don't like it. And they may have been open to it even 10 years ago, but now they're really sick and tired. And in fact, all my European friends that I've talked to used to, like 10 years ago, be like, oh yeah, like this is cool, I guess, you know, yeah, we should help them. And now they're like, I don't feel safe going out at night. Like, I don't feel safe at all. I don't like this. They're destroying everything. They're taking everything. But there reaches a point where history just kind of goes in a cycle. It never repeats itself exactly, but there's always patterns. And there's a pattern where the people of a certain country, and this might be crazy, but the people of certain countries might have enough of Islam, and they might rise up, and they might, you know, start taking their country back. So basically what I'm trying to say is that European countries in the future are going to have elected officials who are going to be voted in by people who do not want more immigrants coming in. And they're going to actually be in favor of kicking them out. I think Germany is actually starting that by, I think they stated a month ago that they were going to deport all of the Syrian refugees. I don't know if they've started, but there you go. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, but like the whole thing is the Quran kind of like predicts this. Like, it's just this like thing that like I would never have predicted, that the Quran predicted and kind of got right.
It predicted them trying to take over and then getting kicked out, or them just trying to take over and rolling through?
Them trying to take over and like, you know, but the thing is, it's like I feel like Europe's not kicking them out. Europe's kind of just bending the knee.
Yeah, they've been. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at countries like Norway.
And like I never would have predicted Europe bending the knee to Islam. Like that's very crazy. So it's like this totally crazy thing no one should have predicted. The Quran predicted and got right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a hard prediction to make, to be honest with you. Like, and this isn't the first time that Islam has invaded Europe either. So, yeah, and it makes sense to me. But if you look at Norway, for those of you who didn't know, a couple of days ago, Norway sent their deputy foreign minister to Iran. and they shook hands with the murderers of the Iranian people. And there was no, like, the best part is there was no need. There was literally no need to do that. You're Norway. Like, what, you know? And then I found out, okay, well, they're really close to their, you know, leftist Islamist groups in Norway. So, but it was disgusting. It was disgusting to see that. That is something that was so unnecessary and will forever be etched into Iranians' minds. Like, they'll never forget that. Norway is going to have to make up some lost ground in the future, in my opinion. Greg, did you want to say something?
Oh, yes. Just on the point of empirical evidence, I agree with your position. I don't disagree with your position, but just a clarification as far as empirical evidence goes. The mere fact that empirical evidence is used to support a claim is not in itself proof of the claim itself. I mean, it happens all the time in science where science uses empirical evidence to come to a conclusion, but later it's found through new observations, new data, and new empirical evidence that what we previously thought to be true is actually not. Yeah, not disagreeing with your position, but just a clarification on empirical evidence.
Yeah, Greg's absolutely right. When you're a scientist, by the way, you can skew data. You can provide a certain, your job is to provide a certain narrative. When you write research papers, whatever experiment you do, whoever hired you is going to want a certain outcome that supports their medical device, for example. And you can create certain narratives with certain data that make the device seem better than it actually is. So how do you prevent that? Because a lot of research papers out there are like that. The way you prevent that is by having the clearest and most descriptive way of gathering that information. So if they actually, in the study introduction, told you how they gather the information, how they set up the experiments, and everything like that, if they were super transparent, then you can be like, okay, the data they gathered comes from a verified scientific way. And then you have to look and see if they skewed the data, like did they omit certain things that are important, it's always difficult to do that. So yes, empirical evidence on its own is not always the best way to support, like to prove a claim, but it is one of the best tools to do so. I agree with you. Noah, go ahead.
Can you hear me okay, Ali?
Yep.
All right. When you were talking about Norway, I was remembering the Vatican also gave its highest award to the I think it was the ambassador to the Islamic Republic as well a few weeks ago, and that was also not needed. That was also very disgraceful. I don't know if anyone saw that in the news, but that when you were talking about Norway, that's what it reminded me of. And of course, with the 40,000 people dying in January, like, why are you giving an award? You're the Vatican, for crying out loud. You don't do, but it just reminds me of what happened in the 30s when they were like meeting with Hitler and all that. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that news came out, I think about 3 days ago, and it's not 100% verified. We actually brought it up on stream, and then we tried to figure out who was posting it, where the sources for this information were coming out, and it was just Iranians, like Islamic Republic state media, and news channels around the world that supported the Islamic Republic. I didn't see a single I didn't see any single like reputable news agency around the world claim it's true. They've all been really hesitant on that, actually. But I'm sure you saw, like, you're referring. Sorry, what was that? You must be referring to that image where they put the Pope meeting with Hitler and the Pope meeting with the ambassador of the Islamic Republic next to each other. And listen, if that's true, that image is true. But until we figure out if that's actually what happened, we don't know. What we do know is that the religious ambassador of the Islamic Republic, who was not the person in that photo, has been awarded an award along with, I think it was like 6 or 7 other religious ambassadors from different religions around the world. But and the Pope himself, like on their website in the Vatican, did officially post that picture, but that's a different picture. It's not the one that's being circulated and is going viral. So it's kind of confusing. I don't understand why you would even give him the award anyway. Just goes to show how irrelevant and, quite frankly, not smart the Pope is. No mention of the protesters, as you said, 42,000 people, which is the most conservative number of people who died. No mention of that. And you're supposed to be the Pope. Human life is supposed to hold value for you. Guess not. Pedro, go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
So this is about responding, or is about another topic?
You can bring a new topic.
So the new topic that I wanna bring you is about, let me think of a new topic that is interesting. It's about the Iran's history, basically. I never actually knew that the Iranian people, like the Aryan people, actually came from Eastern Europe, but but I'm aware that Indo-Europeans originated in the area of what is now known as the Caspian Steppe, and then many of them migrated to the Middle East, to Europe, to the Indian subcontinent. Like, Daniel, correct me on that, and I appreciate that. Like, I never knew that the Iranian people are an Indo-European people.
Yeah. I mean, we're not really from Eastern Europe. Like, that's a very, like, loose statement. Some people in the north of Iran, like Mazandaran or Gilan, like near the Caspian Sea, they do oftentimes have like some Eastern European countries in their DNA tests, but that just goes to show that Iran does have a lot of different ethnicities. So like top down, you have like Gilak, and then you have like Fars, which is like me, just like a bit lower, like in the middle of the country. Then you have like Bakhtiari, which is what Goldie is. You have, I don't know, you have Lut, you have like a ton of different things. Baluch, which is closer to Pakistan. There's no like one blanket statement that you can put, but it just depends on where in Iran you excavated their remains and took the DNA tests, I guess. Yeah. I'm wondering
Of
if there
course,
is a
because as
country.
you may know, yes. Can I explain what something fast? Like, according to what Daniel Maxvavi was explaining to me, Iran in its ancient name was written as Ariana, which means Aryans. Like, the Aryans were an Indo-European people. Like, you're familiar with the Indo-European people, like the Indo-European. It's a language family, and also it refers to the people.
Yeah, so Iran means land of the Aryans. Did you know that?
Yes, Daniel explain me that to me about
Oh,
land
thanks,
of
Daniel.
the Aryan.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that cleared up anything for you, but the answer is just that Iran has different ethnic groups. We're not like one ethnic group. I think the biggest one is what people call Persian, which I think is translated into Fars. So that's probably the biggest one, but yeah, I don't know what you would call it. Persian is the biggest ethnicity, but I'm not sure what that's translated into Farsi. I assume it would be Fars. But if someone could correct me on that, that'd be great. I'm pretty sure that's right.
I think Daniel could correct us on the Indo-European people in Iran, because Daniel seems to be very knowledgeable on ancient history. He might correct us about that.
Okay,
Daniel,
gotcha.
let me
Yeah.
know if Daniel is there.
Oh, I have a fun fact for you guys. During World War II, many people from Poland were actually given refuge in Iran. For anyone who didn't know, I think it was close to 100,000 people. There was no small amount. And these people all assimilated into Persian society, all into Iranian society. Their children spoke Farsi, and they married Iranians. And yeah, to this day, I mean, that was only, what, like 3 generations ago? It's not that long ago. Okay, yeah, Fars people, historically known as Parsi, yeah, primarily refers to ethnic Persians who are native to Iran. Yeah, so that's me, for example. Like, that's what I am. But Goldie, for example, is not that, you know, but we're all Iranian, and we view Iranian first. I'm Iranian first, then Fars.
Look, Paul, I found something about the Iran.
You cut out. Sorry. Noah, did you want to go ahead while we wait for Pedro?
People.
Oh, Pedro,
I'm
you're
so
cutting in and
sorry.
out.
So can I explain something fast about what I found it fascinating?
Yeah, go for it. And then Noah.
So this one is fascinating. It says, it says, while their culture and language originated in Central Asia and the Eurasian steppe, their deepest deepest genetic roots are native to the Iranian plateau itself. One reason it says ancient genetic roots, the plateau. Genetically, modern Iranians are deeply indigenous to the Iranian plateau. Archaeogenetics show that the base of the Iranian gene pool goes way back over 10,000 years ago to early mountain hunter-gatherers and farmers in the Zagros Mountains. Their unique DNA makeup has remained remarkably continuous in the region for millennia. Like, you were right on that. Like that the people are native to the plateau, but the language and some of the culture came from Central Asia. That from the Caspian steppe.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah, way more than 10,000 years, by the way. Guys, remember, 5,000 years is our recorded history, which has been wiped out a couple of times. Like, think about this. Think about this in history. In our Persian history, we have been nearly wiped out twice. Once when Alexander the Great burned all of our libraries, and the Muslim Islamic invasion. And these two, Farsi and Persian culture, was nearly wiped out, like completely, almost wiped out. And we have come back from that. And that is the only 2 recorded instances. So imagine how much knowledge there were, like, for example, 1,400 years ago, that was lost, that we could have had now, and how much knowledge there was even before that was lost as well. So just goes to show that not just for Iran, but for most long-standing societies or histories, civilizations around the world, standing the test of time and passing on your cultural knowledge and information it's difficult. It's very difficult. Someone asked, oh wait, no, that wasn't a question. Never mind. That wasn't a question for me, at least. What about the Mongol invasion? Michael asks. Yeah, they killed what was the percentage of the world population that they killed? It was like enough. They literally eliminated so many human beings back then that it changed the carbon dioxide emissions of the world. Like the world got, like it changed, like the atmosphere changed, which is insane. But yes, they did eliminate a lot of Persians back then. Is there anyone? Nope. All right, Noah, go for it.
I was just about to ask about the Mongol. I'm glad whoever brought it in the chat brought it up. But my topic is I was reading in Iran International that there's already fuel shortages and there's also a gasoline black market. Do we know how Ali, I don't know if you're able to get any more insight on that, but how bad is it right now? And do we expect it to get worse before or during or even after the war is over?
The gasoline itself?
That's from what I understand. It was on Iran International.
No, I'm asking, are you specifically asking about gasoline?
Yes.
Okay.
Like fuel shortages. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Petrol.
Yeah. So here's something that I didn't know until like recently. But when you get oil out of the ground, which Iran is really good at because we have a lot of it underground, you actually have to refine it and you have to convert it in a process to make what you put into your car, like gasoline. And we actually send that to a lot of other countries and we import the gasoline back, to my understanding. And in some areas in Iran, there's not a lot of gasoline. So the price for gasoline did go up a lot, and now there's lines. Where in some areas of the country, you can still find gasoline. Maybe the price went up, but you can still get it pretty easily. But yeah, it will go up. The price of gasoline will go up in Iran. It will get harder to get. And not only that, but in terms of fuel or like energy, electricity will start going out. Even back when I lived there, which was like 16 years ago, the electricity would just go out. They'll tell you, they'll be like, on Tuesday and Thursday between 2 to 4 p.m., you won't have electricity. Good luck. And sometimes it would be like, instead of 2 hours, it'd be like 6 hours. So that was back then. So from then till now, that frequency has gotten worse. In some areas, it's really bad. Some areas don't experience it at all, like richer areas. But yeah, that's about to get a lot worse, especially if power plants are hit. Now, the caveat for the power plants is that they're isolated. So if you do hit a power plant in one area, then maybe just that city or the surrounding area goes dark. And the cities that are tied to the next electrical power plant are still active. Like it's not like you destroy just 3 to 4 power plants and then boom, the whole country goes dark. They're like isolated in rings. So you do have to go in and take them all out if you want the whole country to get dark, which is not going to happen. So, yeah.
Do you think it'll get worse than like I remember, what was it? Israel bombed an oil refinery in Tehran. And do you think it'll get worse in Tehran? Or I know I heard what you were saying about like other places, the price might get higher, but you'll still have availability. But that was one of my main things.
Do I think it will get worse in terms of fuel shortages, or do I think it'll get worse in terms of the images and the videos that we'll see coming out?
The first one.
Fuel shortages. Look, I mean, that refinery is a way for the regime to provide money, and I understand if some of them have to be taken out, particularly the old ones, the ones that were built like 60 years ago. I can understand it. It hurts to see it happen, but I can understand. If they're all hit, that's a different story. The way that they're hit is also really important. If you see the power plants just be blown up completely, you got to start asking questions like, what are you doing? Like, why are you blowing up the entire thing? That doesn't make any sense. If they're hitting strategic spots in the refinery, certain valves, certain stations to, shut it down, then yeah, I mean, do what you have to do as long as it's controlled. But yes, it'll get worse. The fuel shortages will get worse. I'm curious, like, why is that something that you're wondering about? And I'm asking that so I can maybe like piece it together.
Um, because we're hearing about like the food shortages, and of course that can tie to it. So that was just my main curiosity, and also I just wanted to bring another topic up. But when I was reading Iran International today, that's just something that stuck to me because if you're very poor and uh, car transportations are only it's going to be very hard for you. So I mean that was just my main thing. So
Yeah. Gotcha. Where was this? Was it Soapbox? Yeah,
Thank you.
Soapbox, go ahead.
Hi. In case you didn't know already, both Israel and the U.S. have old tech for dealing with electric attacks. These graphite bombs, you know about those, I guess?
Yes.
Okay, so that's one idea. Without permanently, blowing up a power plant, you can drop those things, cut the power for a couple of 3 days, whatever, until they can organize to fix it and turn it back on, and then you have to do it again, but it would save the people for later having no power for months and months. That's all.
Yeah, that's something that Jeffrey's talked about a while back for a bit. He's actually talked about how you don't even have to drop the graphite bombs. There's actually more advanced technology that you could use. But for those of you who don't know, the idea behind what Soapbox was talking about is that you deploy certain measures and they go after the electrical components. They burn the wires, they burn the electrical boxes, and the structures of the buildings are all still left intact. But because the systems running them are now offline, that's like the least amount of collateral damage that you could possibly have. Now, it's a bit more expensive to use those types of technologies, especially on a grand scale, but maybe we will see them on certain power plants. But yeah, that's a good point. I hope the Iranian people are careful. Oh, what reminds me? The Major, who sometimes comes on into Iran Revolution Live, was talking about, because he's an expert in chemical warfare, and he was talking about how if the regime does use chemical weapons again, the easy solution that everyone could use to not die from these chemical weapons is to immediately rush home, get in the shower, grab bleach, run it over your head, like into your hair, obviously not into your eyes and mouth, but over your hair, your skin, and to wash that off, because the bleach binds to the chemicals from like the chemical weapons, binds to the chemicals, and then you can wash it off. Now, keep in mind, you'll stay alive by doing this, but you're still going to get sick, like pretty sick, and you're going to lose your hair. And you probably will have some, like maybe you could have some burns on your skin. I don't know which chemical weapons they're using. But at the end of the day, you will stay alive. So that is something that he's talked about. But the first line of defense is always awareness, which more people should use. Like when you go out, especially, just make sure you're looking around yourself. change your layout so your face can be seen. Nope, that didn't do it. Yeah, I don't know about the layouts here, to be honest with you. See, this is the thing. So Armin set this up this way. So I guess if you're watching this on a TV, then the chat is kind of covering my face. But if you're watching it on a PC or a phone, I'm assuming it doesn't. Sorry. Maybe next time. Next time I'll try and figure out a better way for this. All right, cool. Does anyone have any other thoughts about because like Armin even made a post on Twitter. Like I sent him all the clips of the Islamic Republic state media that are like broadcasting how to use weapons, which is crazy because one of the guys on TV literally he took his AK and he fired an actual round, fired a live round at a flag of the United Arab Emirates. What are you doing, man? And then another one was this lady with just like full hijab, like everything's covered except for like maybe like this small area right here. And she's just holding the AK in front. She's like, head to the city centers, get your AKs. I'm like, oh my God, like these guys are just getting so desperate to do this. Again, I don't think too many regime supporters who are like Iranian born and live good lives are going to pick up these weapons. But I think a lot of the people that they brought in from other countries are going to be picking up these weapons. Maybe they don't know the actual gravity of the situation, but the hope is, even if they do get armed, these regime supporters, when the bombs start dropping again and the people start coming out, or people, they know that the people are going to come out, they start running. I do not want to see more innocent Iranians dying for no reason.
Ollie, I hope some of them were fake regime supporters and in fact were, maybe ordinary Iranians who are picking up these weapons waiting for the final battle, for the final call to action.
Yeah, we talked about that. I mean, how are they going to vet you, right? Like that process, which we're probably going to find out tomorrow or the day after, which I'm really curious about. I want to know exactly how they find out, or like how they'll give you that weapon. Because I know at least you'll go in, you'll put your name in, you'll put your carte Meli, which is like your social security equivalent. You'll put that number in. Maybe you'll post on social media about the Islamic Republic. Maybe they even want you to post yourself with the weapon on social media. I don't know. But other than that, they can't really check your criminal record to see if you were arrested for political activism before. And how, like, I don't imagine they'll spend more than 5 to 10 minutes vetting someone, if that. So what's to stop a regular Iranian going in line, getting their gun, going home, watching the Islamic State media, and learning how to use this AK? And then, when the people come out, he joins them. Now, there's a whole other problem with that. We still haven't figured out what the problem is to arming the people and differentiating them. How do people know that other people holding guns are on their side? Because the IRGC oftentimes wear plain clothes. It's kind of impossible to tell who they are until they start grouping up. Previously, you could tell they were IRGC because they just had a gun, and Iranian people don't have guns. So you could be like, okay, well, even if he's wearing plain clothes, now that he's taken out a gun, all right, we know who he is. But now that you have just people on the street all the time with guns, you're gonna see what Jeffrey calls blue on blue, which is Iranian people shooting at other Iranian people. And put yourself in that position where you're on the street and you're pumped full of adrenaline. How are you going to believe someone that they're on your side? They're also holding a weapon. You're holding a weapon. If you lower yours, they could fire, and that's it for you. That's end of the line. So how are you going to trust them? It's going to be hard. It's going to be pretty hard. Soapbox, go ahead.
Yeah, I thought of one more thing. even if they do give out, however many thousands of rifles to people that show up and give their, ID number and swear allegiance and all that. If I was them, what I would do is not give them any ammunition at all until they're told to report to town square, right here at a certain time, because they're going to start anti-civilian operation, and that way, then they'll hand out ammunition, hand out a magazine, and then you're stuck. You're either going to do what they say or be the one guy out of 300 who decides to turn the rifle on his officer. So they would put up a filter system. That's how I'd do it, because I'd be afraid of the same thing that we're talking about now, them never showing up at the appointed hour to join the government side, and they'd show up against us. So this way, the rifle's not good unless they're able to, meet up with some other insurgents and get some ammunition passed to them. That's how I'd run it, so there's that.
Yeah, so that's an excellent idea, and that's actually what the Russian army does. And in fact, they've done that so brutally that they're having trouble recruiting. Also the fact that they're losing. But yes, so what Soapbox is talking about is true in the sense that it will stop people from defecting as much. Because if you're there and you have your weapon but no bullets and you show up, now the actual IRGC people who have weapons will shoot you in the back if you try to run or turn around or something like that. And that's what the Russian army does, like every day. However, here's the thing. I don't know when the Iranian people are going to come out. You don't. The regime doesn't. Prince Reza Pahlavi doesn't. No one knows. So when they do come out, the amount of people that the regime are going to be able to give weapons or bullets to in that time is going to be a lot less than the amount of people who are actually holding rifles. So it would be to their benefit to just give them a limited amount of bullets from the get-go, and then maybe more ammunition later. But yeah, it would be hard. It would be very chaotic after the people come out to then set up these little bases to get hand out ammunition. Not impossible, probably will happen, but for them to arm thousands and thousands by that way, it's going to be really, really hard. So that's my counter to that argument. Noah, did you want to respond?
Yeah, I think that's one of the major reasons why, once the war restarts and
could you speak more into the mic, please?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, a little better, yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. That's why, once the war starts, again, and hopefully, if the Bandar Abbas plan goes ahead, we're able to establish a beachhead and we're able to hand out weapons that way. That's my thinking into that, and that way we're able to arm the Iranian people that way. So.
Gotcha. So Noah's saying that the Bandar Abbas plan could be a way that we can arm Iranians. For those of you who haven't heard it, Armin came up with this plan where Bandar Abbas, which is the southernmost and largest, actually no, it's the largest port in Iran, basically right next to the Strait of Hormuz, you liberate that city. And that city becomes a base of operations for the Garda Javidan, the Immortal Guard, and other resistance fighters who want to get rid of the Islamic Republic. Now, there will be, that takes a lot of time, and there will be a lot of casualties with that, because the IRGC can just direct all of their missiles and drones, and they will undoubtedly do that, to Bandar Abbas and probably just flatten the city or half of it. So a lot of people will, a lot of casualties there. It also takes some time because you have to train these people and then send them out and, conduct missions and slowly take back the country city by city. I'm personally hoping it doesn't reach that point. But if it does, then, something's better than nothing. We got to do it. Absolutely, we got to do it. Let's see. Someone asked, correct me if I'm wrong. Armin gives me the impression His Royal Highness Reza Pahlavi will tell the people when to come out, but you seem to think it will happen organically. Where am I confused? I seem to think that we'll have a repeat of last time, where the people start coming out, and then Prince Reza Pahlavi gives them direction. Because, for example, let's say like the strikes just ended, and Prince Reza Pahlavi gives the call to come out. Like it has to be in conjunction with the fact that like he has to know for certain that people are going to come out. And I don't know if there's 100% like any other way to know that people will come out other than some of them have already come out. Now I could be wrong. There could be other ways, right? He could trigger. If someone in the chat is asking, how about the 50,000 private defections? Changes the mathematic variable a little bit. So maybe he triggers those at the same time. Whatever happens has to happen at the same time. Strikes by the United States and Israel, drone support overhead, arming the Iranian people, IRGC and their militias don't get paid, so they have more incentive to stop shooting and start running. Defections come in. Even, and defections can mean anything. People stopping, not showing up to work is a defection. The military taking up arms against the IRGC, that's also a defection. So everything has to happen all at once. I just personally think that Prince Reza Pahlavi won't release the arrow because he only has one shot until he knows 100% certainty that it's going to work. And personally, I would never have the wisdom or even the restraint to hold back my assets like that. Like I would have just dumped everything I had back in January and did my best with that situation. So the fact that Prince Reza Pahlavi hasn't done that, Mossad hasn't done that. They have a ton of assets. The CIA hasn't done that. I would have just rushed it, which is why I'm not in his position, and I would never want to be. That is, the amount of stress is, oh man, yeah. Let's see, is there anything? Okay, so the United States could use GPS trackers on personnel. Could that be used by Iranian insurgents in combo with the US-Israeli drones tracking, giving cover? Organization issues. Do you mean if the US used GPS trackers on personnel? Oh, okay. So you mean people on the street attach devices to themselves that differentiates who's Iranian people and who's not? Yeah, that could work. That could work for the drones to not like have friendly fire, but in the first place, I personally don't think that the drones providing support would cause too much friendly fire to begin with. So, because these drones have all the time in the world to be up there, like they have 36 hours to be hovering up there, and there's going to be like 100 to 150 of them, and they're just going to be waiting for IRGC to group up, or snipers or mounted machine guns. And the snipers and the mounted machine guns are super duper easy to spot. When the IRGC are grouped up on the street, super duper easy to spot. If there's like one IRGC there, one over there, I don't think the drone's going to waste one of its rockets on taking out that one guy. They really have to think about what targets they want to hit here to get the maximum value. Those one or two guys on the streets that are IRGC are going to be shot at by the Iranian people who are armed, or just taken over with casualties like we saw back in January. A lot of them were overtaken. Yep, or allied insurgencies with tracking. The problem is IRGC getting the signal. Yeah, I mean, you don't really need like a GPS tracker. Like a phone is also a GPS tracker, so you could kind of just see how many phones are in one area, and the people are more than the IRGC, so there will be more GPS signals coming from the people, the crowds, and you can just tell by that. But like, keep in mind, the drone technology to identify targets was there like 20 years ago. With AI and companies like Palantir that have this super duper razor edge technology that's just come out, I don't think we have the issue of them trying to differentiate between regular civilians and IRGC, especially when if you saw the clips, there's like a huge gap in the street where the IRGC are just shooting down range onto people. Like in that scenario, it's super duper easy. super easy. You tell who the target is. There's the scenarios that I am worried about, which is the plainclothes IRGC who infiltrate the crowds of the Iranian people. They act like they're protesters, and they just whip out a gun and start shooting everyone around them. That's what I'm scared of. That's going to have to come down to the heroism of the Iranian people and mass casualties. God, I feel sick every time I say that. Noah, you want to respond?
You're not the only one who feels sick when you see that too. Just saying. But in terms of like GPS trackers, I remember China also has their own GPS system. Could you also like, if someone like and that could mainly be used by IRGC instead of using American-based GPS systems. So maybe if someone's using a Chinese-based, like their own version of GPS, they could be say, oh, that person could be IRGC, and then that's one thought. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you probably have to give them the equipment first, right?
Yes, but
Yeah,
we
that's the
know
hard
that
part.
China has done that. Yeah.
That's the hard part, is getting the equipment to the people and distributing them. Which is why I think they'll probably just rely on technology that's already existing, like a phone. Like if they just see like 10,000 phone signals coming from a certain area, they can probably tell that those are like regular Iranian citizens. And if they immediately can't, they'll zoom in with their cameras and they have all sorts of thermal infrared, like everything, right? All these targets are going to be vetted, but the response time, and keep in mind, okay, the response time, I'm calling it right now, from the moment that the IRGC starts shooting, if there's a sniper, mounted machine gun, whatever, from the moment they start shooting to the moment the drone like sends a rocket and explodes on the IRGC position is going to be less than 4 minutes. It'll be quick. 4 minutes passes by fast when you're pumped full of adrenaline and you're down on the street. It's basically, my point is that the momentum for the Iranian people will be carried through, is my point. But yeah, GPS trackers have the same problems as arming the Iranian people. How do you get the equipment into Iran? How do you distribute it to the right people? It's all the same problems. So I don't think they'll really rely on that. It came out that the US had a secret base south of Esfahan, weapons drop in the desert, plenty of places to arrange it. Oh, you mean the airstrip that they used to recover the pilot? Yeah, I mean, that's like, here's the problem with that. That airstrip was used to take 2 planes in, and I think it was 2 helicopters or something like that. Like, how many weapons could you realistically smuggle in with that? And now that the regime is like wise to that idea, it's much harder, right? So yeah, it's gonna be hard to just fly in weapons into that country and start distributing them. There's also a ton of risk with that. It'd be a huge PR win for the Islamic Republic if they captured like US forces distributing weapons with their planes, with their helicopters, which is why we blew up the planes and helicopters before we left. But it's not a bad idea. I just think that the Pentagon has probably come up with like 10 different strategies to arm the Iranian people. Like, how big are the deserts to arrange drops? Well, here's the problem. If you just drop weapons into the desert, the IRGC will 100% get there first. But let's just say they didn't. You're going to have like convoys of Iranian people get in their cars and just drive out into the middle of the desert and like load their cars full of weapons and then go back into the cities, which are like, they have checkpoints in them. So that's also a hard, it's like a difficult way, but you're on the right track. I mean, whatever you thought of, whatever I thought of, the people actually distributing the weapons would have like had a plan that's a billion times better than what we could come up with. Keep in mind, the CIA is no stranger to arming people in countries where it's difficult to arming them. Which is why I'm saying, okay, the Kurdish separatist groups took the weapons. Do you think that's it? Do you think the Pentagon gave up after that? The CIA just gave up and they're like, oh, dang it. We lost. Oh, well, no. Most of the people in the CIA are still alive when they've armed, like, they probably armed, like, what, like 30 plus countries at this point in the last, I don't know, 40 years. Yeah, they're good at it. But, oh, and I'll say this one thing. My favorite conspiracy theory is that with all the ships that were coming in before the blockade, how hard is it to just smuggle in weapons on those ships? Like, not just maybe have one ship that's chock full of weapons, but like a container here and there, you know, on ship number 1 and 10 and 13 and whatever. Like, I'm sure they used 20 different ways, all sorts of different ways, you know? Then you coordinate with people who are there, bribe the right person. You're not short of USD, and USD is, you know, dollars go a long way in Iran right now. Yeah, it's not impossible. You just have to want to do it. But yeah. All right. Oh, I haven't heard that question before. Which border is best for gun smuggling? All of them. Fun fact. Yeah. In fact, let me think if there's a border that's not good for weapon smuggling. Azerbaijan. Nope, you can do that. Super duper easy. Baku is a port city. Armenia, that happens. Iraq, that already happens all the time. Turkmenistan. Yeah, Turkmenistan is probably the hardest one, actually. I would say that's probably the hardest border. But even then, like, Turkmenistan has been sending a bunch of trucks into the Islamic Republic. Trucks full of aid. Guys, we know what that means. Afghanistan, probably not too difficult. And the reason I say it's not too difficult, Noah, because a lot of Afghan illegal immigrants cross over. So there's already established routes for that. It's like a whole business. Pakistan, don't imagine it being difficult there. Yeah, even the south, like Bandar Abbas and the port cities, like let's just say Bandar Abbas has way more security, okay? Well, you can go to Chabahar, which is near the Pakistani border, and it's also a port city. Yeah, give someone, be like, hey man, I have $50,000 in my pocket. Listen, here's what I need you to do. At this day and this time, I'm going to have to deload this ship, and I just need you to look the other way. Not hard. $50,000, that's like 6, 7, 8 years of a port, like, minister steward's salary. It's like, it's fine. He's gonna do it. Yeah. Oh, actually, Kuwait would probably be the hardest one. I didn't think about that. Yeah. Kuwait would be the hardest one. I hope, actually. Yeah. Anyway. Someone said, I didn't know about Turkmenistan arming the IRGC. Yeah, so Turkmenistan is not a great country, guys. They have a ton of human rights issues, violations. And in fact, if you've ever traveled there, I haven't, but I've seen a lot of videos of people traveling there. It is eerie. It is uncanny valley. You are not even allowed to talk about, like, if you start talking about the government, people walk away from you. They're scared. Like, it's not too different than the Islamic Republic in that sense. If you speak out against the government, you will be taken and you will never be heard of again. They have a ton of human rights violations and issues, and they have been sending aid to the Islamic Republic. Noah, did you want to respond?
Yeah, there's a reason why Turkmenistan is called the North Korea of Central Asia is because of that. So yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's what Rebecca also just said. Yeah, interesting.
The only difference is Turkmenistan is very wealthy because of natural gas, and North Korea, we know, is not. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, yeah. People in the chat are also confirming that. Someone said, "I really hope Armin and Ali start making videos in Persian for Iranians. Even brief internet access and seeing these videos could remind people that they are not forgotten and help boost morale." Yeah, so I think because Armin's gotten a few comments like that of people in Iran in Farsi typing that on the stream, he probably will. But the first thing that people do when they get internet in Iran is like check like a lot of the mainstream news, or maybe like people they trust like Armin and then Prince Reza Pahlavi, and they will definitely not be clicking on Ali Salmani. Say that for now. For now, check back in like 2 years. Do we know how much? Sorry, let me move this. Do we know much about the IRGC, Basij, Artesh, and how they're spread out across the country? Currently, I would have no information on that. What I could tell you is that there's something called the Mosaic Strategy, which just means that Iran has 32 provinces, each of them having their own command structure, and they are set to work independently, which means that if you invade Iran and you take said province in the northwest, for example, then all the provinces around it are still able to fully function, like fully function. And you'd have to basically take a new country like every time. That's like the idea behind it. And I also do know that if you are sent for mandatory military service, so if you're age 18, you are enrolled into 2 years of mandatory military service. And I don't know if it's still like this, but I imagine it is. They send you to a border and you spend your service there, like on deployments. Probably not the entire 2 years, but you spend a portion of your time there. Which I think is actually what they do in Israel too. A lot of them. The Basij, they're spread out. The Basij is a group of the IRGC. It's like their suppression, like their people, anti-police riot people that come out into the street. And they are pretty much located in just the major cities. There's a lot of them spread out in like smaller cities and towns and all that. But if you want like a centralized force, you're looking at like the biggest cities. So like Tehran, Isfahan, Shiraz, Tabriz, those are pretty much Mashhad. You're going to have large groups of there. But in the smaller towns, yeah, they're there, but the people can definitely have their way. All right, guys. Yeah, I'm thinking of cutting it there in a couple of minutes, but you guys can definitely continue the discussion after I'm gone. Same rules. Also, you guys are the OGs. Thanks for showing up. Yeah, show up every time. Let's see. Was there anything else? Let me quickly look at the updated news. All right. What? That was ridiculous. According to the New York Times, the United States and Israel may resume war with Iran next week. The New York Times, guys. Wow. Okay, Trump has just landed. So I think that's why people are saying that the war can restart, because he's back in the US and he's back in the White House now. Someone said, did you see the news about the arrest of Sadie? Yeah, we actually covered that right before the stream ended with Armin. We talked about that, and we talked about how the state media is pushing arming the Iranian people. the New York Slimes. I agree. I mean, these guys suck. Yeah, that's about it. There's nothing new going on. Today, just like every other day, there was intense jet activity over Mosul in Iraq. There's nothing new. But one thing about that guy, though, al-Saidi, he was really close to Qasem Soleimani in terms of like almost pretty much personally trained. And he's Iraqi, and he's in the Hashd al-Shabi, which is the Popular Mobilization Front. He's a part of that. And he's currently suspected to be under arrest in New York. He got arrested in Turkey and then sent to the United States, and now he's in FBI custody. So it's very interesting. I don't know who arrested him, who sent them there, because I don't imagine that Turkey would have just turned him over to the FBI like that. It's really weird. Have you heard about the Chinese ship that was taken by the IRGC in the Gulf? Yes. The IRGC took control of a Chinese ship, which on the outside doesn't look like anything special, but on the inside is actually an armory. They have weapons in there and other things, other technologies. So China's not going to like that. China's not going to like that at all. And that came when Trump was in China. So when the talks came out that Trump and Xi Jinping are like agreeing that the Strait of Hormuz should not be controlled by the IRGC and that Islamic Republic should not have nuclear weapons, that ship got seized. So I guess some commander in the IRGC did not like that. Michael said, I doubt that the US will attack, by the way. I hope I'm wrong. No, they definitely will. Don't even worry about it. Like, I'm hearing and seeing the same exact things that I saw pre-February 28th. Like, the same exact things. And they still happened. If the troops in the Middle East were being moved out and they weren't being added on, I would start freaking out and being like, okay, now maybe the strikes would not happen, but they're only adding. Since the start of February 28th till now, we have doubled our military strength. Someone says, I think tomorrow or Sunday the attack will happen. I made a prediction on April 28th, and I said between May 9th and May 15th, the strikes will resume. And I think just to spite me, the universe will start the strikes tomorrow on the 16th. If not tomorrow, then next week. But tomorrow would make a lot of sense because there's no light in the sky. The moon is not there. No light. Perfect for aerial operations. Perfect for dropping troops if you're dropping troops down there to like get some uranium or something. I don't know. Someone asked if I speak Persian. I do. I do. Oh, thanks, CB. CB said, remind people to subscribe to your channel. Yeah, guys. Man, it feels weird asking for that. Usually Armin says it. Yeah, if you guys could please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers and set everything up and learn how to make videos so that when Iran is free and I go to Iran, I can start making videos immediately for you guys about visiting and showing you guys all the different cultural stuff because that's my interest. I love showing off the culture of Iran for Iranians who are outside of Iran who might not know. And going through the different cities, I'll even make silly little videos like how far, like I tried spending $100 in an Iranian village, or you know, walking up to people on the street and being like, you know, how hopeful are you about the future, this and that, random stuff. You know, I spent 6 hours in Tehran, or like whatever. I'm trying to check if there's anything else before we head out. What's your channel name? I'll subscribe. My channel name is Ali Samani F. Yeah, I'll just type it. That. Isn't this under YouTube, the Persian guy? No, so, oh man, I don't think people are ever going to let me live that one down. I know Armin won't, but I named my channel, keep in mind, this was like the first 3 days. I named my channel Persian Dude, okay? And yeah, it was not a good idea. So I just changed it to my actual name. I tried taking Persian.com because that's actually what my TikTok handle is. I used to make TikToks. I got to like 20K followers there, but yeah, Persian.com was taken by people who don't even use YouTube anymore. So I couldn't even use my own name, by the way. Like if you see the handle, it's Ali Samani F, because Ali Samani is just taken as well. So whatever. I always want more info on what people in Iran think. Yeah, the whole point, the whole audience is going to be Iranian diaspora and people in foreign countries like around the world who are interested in Iran. That's all I'm going to be doing. Probably like maybe like 2 videos a week, maybe 1, depends on the quality of the video, how long it takes to edit and stuff. So yeah. Daniel says, name your channel Samani Report. Yeah, but what if I just make cultural stuff? Like I play a Persian instrument and I really want to walk up to someone who plays the Persian instrument on the street and be like, as an American, I'll be like, wow, what is that? You know, just in English, like pretend I can't speak Farsi, which is like, oh my God, I love pranking people. I'm gonna be like, yeah, how do you I don't speak Farsi, guys. Can you help me out? Like, what does this say? So I'll go and be like, what is that instrument? That's so cool. Do you mind if I play it? Like, please, I've come all the way over here from California. Like, I really want to play this instrument. And then I just start playing it, and everyone's like, what? All right, I'm talking too much. All right, guys, that was fun. I do have to go. Please remember that you guys can continue and keep talking. Someone said your face gives it away. Damn. That I'm a foreigner? Really? I mean, I don't think I look any different than a lot of other Persian people. But maybe you're right. Know that you're Iranian? Oh, I mean, yeah, like obviously they'd be able to look at me and tell that I'm Iranian, but then when I speak in English with an American accent, the accent part is what's going to make them think that I'm American. But yeah, otherwise I look like everyone else. Are you Khariji? Yeah, I'll be like, yeah. That was actually my nickname when I lived in Iran. It was Ali Khariji, which means Ali the foreigner, because Ali's a common name. And no, I can't change it. Sorry, guys. All right, the link is in your discussion group, but not in the live chat. What link? Which one, Dominic? The link to my YouTube or the link to the discussion group? Ali the Fereng. Is Fereng, is that it? Is that Hebrew? Or is that wait, isn't that Filipino? Huh. YouTube link. Oh. I hope that works. But yeah. If you just put my first and last name together with an F at the end, that's my YouTube. Can you tell us about your group? I think you said Fars. Yeah, so Fars just is like the Persian ethnicity, which is like the majority of Iranians in Iran. It's because of that, because Fars is like a really large area in the middle of Iran. Yeah. You sound like someone from America, in my opinion, and I am born and raised in the US. Oh yeah, just wait until my Californian accent comes out. Like, yeah, dude. But yeah, some people who've never seen me before, like if I talk on Discord and I have another username, they'll be like, "Oh, you're white," and I'll be like, "Oh, interesting. My username is literally Persian, dude." So, but yeah, sorry, I've been yapping a while, and I do have to go. The people in the discussion group, you guys are probably just like, "What the heck is going on?" But yeah, that was fun. Thank you guys for showing up. I am going to head out. I have somewhere to be. But thank you everyone who showed up for the discussion group, and thanks for everyone who showed up during the live stream. You guys are the OGs. Really appreciate you guys. I'm going to stop the recording. All right.